Howdy, howdy, back at it again. I am still not Zach Henke, but I sound a lot more like myself because I have this new microphone, as I'm sure you can tell. My voice sounds so much better without having to default to using a PS5 controller just floating on player 2 as my mic. I'm so excited, and I hope this improves the quality of my video and my streams, and that you all enjoy it as much as I do. So, on to the point, why are we here today? I am here today to talk about, point blank, how do you play neutral with modern Marisa? Because playing neutral with Marisa is already a little atypical for how Street Fighter 6 generally plays for most of the cast. And then when you add modern on top of that, she loses some options, and it can be kind of frustrating, in my opinion, to access other people's guides for how to play neutral with Marisa, just to see a lot of suggestions to use buttons or special moves that you just don't have. I wanted to start by talking about what the general neutral in this game is like for the core of the meta, so who better to do that with than a Shoto. I've been learning Modern Ken as a secondary, so I feel comfortable running around in the training room as Modern Ken. He's sitting at 1400 MR right now, and I'm proud of that. I want to take it further, but today's about Marisa, so on to the discussion of neutral. When you're playing neutral with a Shoto at a long range, you want to play the fireball game, you want to zone them out, eventually they panic. They probably try to jump over the fireball. Then you anti-air them with a Shoryuken. In terms of what buttons you're hitting during your approach, during their approach, for Ken at least, this is a really good button. It's cancelable, so you can get big combos off of it on hit. A lot of options there. And likewise, the almighty low forward, or crouching medium kick, or 2MK, whatever you want to call it, this button. That is the core of neutral for a lot of characters in this game, is that you're fishing for the very tip of this range, and you're drive rush canceling it into a 50-50. Is it going to be a strike? Is it going to be a throw? Is it going to be something that's not a true string on block, such as this? And that's really the core of what you do with a Shoto. You can play the fireball game, you can anti-air, and you want to check space with good, ideally cancelable buttons. Obviously, Ken has more buttons than that. That's not the entirety of Ken's game plan, but it is the core of it, is hit you with this into massive corner carry, hit you with this into massive corner carry, and that is generally how a lot of characters play this game. That is not how Marisa plays this game. And that is why I wanted to make this video, to kind of hopefully provide a starting point for someone learning this character on Modern, and a little bit of insight from somebody else who plays Modern and understands what buttons she doesn't have and how to play around those weaknesses in addition to Modern's strengths. So, for starters, what doesn't Marisa have? I'm actually going to try to switch this to Classic Marisa real quick to demonstrate the buttons that you lose. I'm not familiar with the Classic layout, so bear with me. Alright, where's Heavy Kick? That's Heavy Punch. That's Heavy Kick. Okay, this button. You lose this button on Modern, which is unfortunate, because on Punish Counter, you get really big combos off of this button. It's great for space traps, it's great for just checking at the very tip of her range, you can charge it, not on Modern. You also lose Stand Light Kick on Modern. There's Stand Light Kick. It's technically special cancelable, I think. Yep. But you don't really get anything off of it. It's more of a poke than anything else, and it's particularly useful in the combos that you get off of Stand Heavy Kick. And I've just accidentally disconnected my controller. Bear with me for a moment.
I don't have time to play.
There we go. Mainly useful in your combos off of this. You don't have this, so losing this is really not the end of the world. You also lose Crouching Medium Kick. This is most noticeable when you're trying to catch somebody walking away from you, or if you're playing another Marisa and you're trying to catch them low underneath a lot of their armor options. not a major loss, but it's a loss all the same. The biggest loss is that modern Marisa does not have access to this special under standard circumstances. Now, I think I got the input right. Yep. Whether you call it Quadriga, whether you call it Spartan Kick, bottom line is, you don't have that on Modern. The only way in which you have that on Modern
Marisa.
is at the end of the heavy auto combo, which ends with, like, Quadriga. But outside of that, you lose that button entirely. So, where does that leave us? How do you play neutral differently with modern Marisa? How do you play neutral as Marisa in general? I'm going to kind of try to cover both things. I know there are other Marisa neutral guides out there. It's been done very well by 801 Strider. I think it's been discussed by Zach Henke, the Marisa Go. But I think having a modern version of it out there could still be useful, so I'm going to try to put my own spin on this. The core of Marisa's neutral is always going to be Gladius as a starting point. I joke when in doubt Gladius, but it's not really a joke. It's a great option. Now, why is Gladius so good? Obviously, it's got a lot of range, and for many buttons, any buttons that don't hit low or that don't have a weirdly low hitbox, some buttons that don't actually hit low will still go under the armor, such as I think Jury's Crouch Light Punch tends to catch me there, and it's really annoying. But by and large, anything that's not low is going to get hit by this. And you can charge it to additionally do more damage and power through a move. So this is something that, just at a baseline, they have to respect. They can't just throw buttons in Gladius range, because you'll hit them, and you'll hit them through their button with the armor properties, and they kind of have to play around it. So what are they going to do about Gladius? Well, you have a few options. They can start walking backwards in the hopes that you'll throw a Gladius, and because they're walking backwards, oh no, you missed. And if you miss, they have time to hit you while you're still stuck in the animation and get a really big combo off of that. So you really don't want to be whiffing Gladius. If they don't walk back, they're likely to walk up to you and try to hit you low, like with Ken's aforementioned crouching medium kick, which is another way they could get around it. Because Gladius, even OD Gladius, which has 2 hits of armor instead of 1 hit of armor, and armor's on frame 1 instead of taking time for the armor to kick in, even so, it loses to lows. It still does not armor lows. So, what is the counterplay to that counterplay? Well, in the beginning, you want to establish, I'm going to use Gladius. You can't press buttons. If you do, you're going to get hit. I have armor. Fuck you. Now, if they start walking back, in the hopes that you're going to just keep throwing Gladius and then it'll miss, because Marisa's walk speed to catch up is fairly slow, simply don't miss. Walk them down. Get comfortable walking and blocking, walking up. They start walking towards you again, you can walk back a little bit, play that spacing game, but don't just let them walk back and make your moves miss. If they're walking back, they're giving you a free opportunity to walk forward. Alternatively, if they're walking in, they're trying to catch you with a low, then you can catch them pressing and catch their approach. One of my favorite ways to do that is with this button. I'll get into that in more detail in terms of combo options later. But the bottom line being, if they're walking back, you walk forward. If they're trying to come towards you to hit you low, you want to catch them trying to throw that button out. Catch them before it hits you, maybe back up just a tiny bit, like they were trying to do with your Gladius, so they think they can hit you. They miss. They thought you were walking towards them. Now you walk back a little. They miss. You hit them with one of these. And that's really the core of Gladius, is do Gladius. If they start walking back, you walk forward. If they start coming in, you check their approach. And then as soon as they stop doing those things, now they're scared to walk back because you'll just take up the space, and they're scared to walk forward because you'll just check their approach. They're going to go back to just throwing buttons, and you can go back to doing this. If they don't want to do anything, if they just kind of want to sit there and block, Marisa has a lot of options to do a lot of drive meter damage on block, which I will also get into later. So, what other options does Marisa generally have in neutral? Well, you have Phalanx. Your modern Phalanx is the medium Phalanx, which is very solid for a lot of situations. If you can comfortably do manual DP inputs, which I'm sympathetic to if you have a disability of some kind that makes that difficult or impossible. But if you can do manual DP inputs, you also have light Phalanx and heavy Phalanx. The one button Phalanx is always going to be medium. One button, medium. And Phalanx is good. It can go through fireballs, and it can go over lows, so that's another option. If they want to try to walk up to you and go low, you can also preemptively throw a Phalanx to go over it, as long as they don't catch you during the startup. And it's another good option to mix in with your Gladius and make sure your pressure isn't super, super predictable. You don't have Quadriga, so there's really no point in going over Quadriga in neutral, because you only have it at the end of a combo, which means it no longer exists as a neutral tool. And then the only other special moves in question are going to be your Dimachaerus, Dima, Uppercut, whatever you want to call it. I think it's called Slam on the Frame Data app. That's this. Your one button one is always going to be medium, which is unfortunately kind of niche in usefulness, but none of these are really something you're going to be doing in neutral. So that doesn't really come up in this way as well. Your other remaining special move is going to be Marisa's armor and follow-ups. The follow-ups being overhead, a sweep, or command grab. By and large, in terms of just raw, you're not going to use this in neutral. The sweep is extremely unsafe on block. You're negative 24 there. Like, that's as bad as whiffing a DP. And the overhead takes time to come out. The first hit is safe on block at negative 3, but doesn't really set you up for much. It takes a lot of time to come out, and your only option on hit is to go into the follow-up, which doesn't really get you any particularly notable Oki, and you have to hit confirm it. It's just not great. Also worth mentioning, Classic Marisa, I forgot to mention this a moment ago, Classic Marisa has an overhead. I'm gonna go back to Classic real quick, this feels so weird. Having some controller disconnect issues again. Oh! I think I know what it is. I forgot to put the magic boots in this controller. I'm on a different controller that I usually play on. Give me one moment to grab my magic boots, and I will be right back. Okay, for those who do not know, I play on assorted leverless controllers by SGF Devices. And if you play on a controller that's not officially compatible with PlayStation, then you need a converter like the Magic Boots, or it times out after a certain number of minutes. And I think that's why my controller's been randomly disconnecting. Let's hop back in. That should fix it. Okay, so back to Classic to demonstrate the overhead, which, there it is. Normally you have this, and technically it has a target combo, I think, which I almost never see. So there are certain setups off of that you can't get anymore. But the main point that I wanted to make there is that when you are on Modern, technically your only overhead is going to be this. So it's not completely useless, but it doesn't work in combos the same way that the standard overhead does, and it's really not something you're going to want to do in neutral. Of that versus sweep, if you're going to use one of them, at least this one is safe on block, but I really wouldn't advise those as neutral tools in general. That just leaves the command grab. You're obviously not going to randomly walk up and command grab somebody in neutral. However, the interesting thing about Modern Marisa and Armor Stance, or Scutum, as it's technically called, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is that it's much easier to input when you're just walking forward. Because normally, both Gladius and Scutum are motion inputs on quarter circle forward, which is why Modern Marisa cannot manually input Scutum. Because Scutum is quarter circle forward plus a kick button, whereas Gladius is quarter circle forward plus a punch button. And you don't have separate kick and punch buttons on Modern. You only have a light, a medium, and a heavy. So therefore, the quarter circle forward is... Wait a minute. Quarter circle forward, kick is quadriga. It's quarter circle back. That is Scutum. I'm going to eat my words here. Quarter circle back. But regardless, it's the same reason, because quarter circle back on Modern Marisa is this, which would be quarter circle back punch on Classic, but it's quarter circle back kicks to get Scutum. However, Scutum on Modern is just forward plus special. So, whereas if you were to walk forward into a quarter circle back move, you kind of have to stop for an instant that is visible and somewhat reactable to get a quarter circle back input to come out. But Modern Marisa can just keep walking forward, and forward is the direction for the input, and it's straight into armor stance.
I don't have time to
So occasionally, it is more of a gimmick, but occasionally, if somebody likes to press buttons every time you get anywhere near them, you can just walk up and armor stance. If you also want to watch lows, more likely if you're going to do this, you're going to walk up an EX armor stance. And sometimes people do just walk into it because they're really not used to seeing that. It's not something worth doing all the time. It's something you want to do against a particular type of player that is constantly pressing buttons, but it is something you can do in neutral. I did this to Nate Banks once during a match in Casa, and when I watched the stream back later, he was just screaming, "She walked forward into EX counter! Raw! What the fuck?" So it can be hilarious. But again, not core of Marisa's neutral. Core of Marisa's neutral would be Gladius.
I don't have time to play.
So we've covered our special moves. This isn't really used in neutral. This is the core of your neutral. This is maybe very occasionally used in neutral, and this can be used to go over lows, to go through fireballs, to potentially armor some normals, but you're better off doing that with Gladius. It's just a way to mix up your options. And I'm going to move on now to normals in neutral, because this is really where Modern Marisa has to approach things a little bit differently because of those missing buttons that I showed you earlier. I am going to start by covering stand medium kick. This is just generally a basic check for if somebody's walking into your space and you want to check their approach and go, "Nah, you can't do that." It has decent range, but it's only +4 on hit. So even on hit, you're not going to get any conversion off of this if it wasn't off drive rush. This is not a combo starter. This is not something you use to start a lot of pressure. It's a basic check that says, "Hey, you're walking into my space, stay away from me." And it's lower commitment than Gladius, and doesn't have the Gladius situation of just straight up losing to lows. So this is a decent button to use as you're approaching somebody, or more likely as they're approaching you, to just be like, "Hey, this is my territory, you can't come in here." Another really useful button to check their approach alongside this is the aforementioned crouching medium punch. This is such a good button, and it can be especially a good with punish. If, for example, you're in the situation you've been using Gladius, now they started walking forward into lows to beat the Gladius. You know they're walking forward into lows, so you play the spacing to get them to miss that low, to miss with their crouching medium kick. While that button is still out, you can catch it with this. And a good way to do that is to buffer a drive rush cancel behind the button. You do this by hitting the parry button immediately when the button would connect, if it connected with them. And if the button misses, as you can see here, I'm hitting parry, but it's missing, so you don't get a drive rush. If it hits them, then you get the drive rush. And that'll also happen on block. So you do have to be aware before you accidentally spend meter. If you're buffering this and you're close enough to hit them but they block it, it's still going to come out on block. But the advantage of buffering this is that you think he's going to hit a button, he doesn't, no harm, no foul. But if he does hit a button and you guessed right and you catch them with a whiff punish, then you can get a combo. There are two main combo routes for if you get the drive rush cancel on hit from the crouching medium punch. And that is going to be both off of going directly into the stand medium kick that we just talked about. Oop, gotta take him off block. Actually, that's a good place to start. On block, you're +2 here. So it's a true strike throw mix. If you throw, it'll beat their buttons. If you jab, it'll beat their buttons. It's a good place to be. They can walk back to try to get out of the throw, but it's a good place to be, even on block, as long as you have the drive meter to spend. On hit, you are +8 here. So your options range from no motion input combos, where you go into the medium punch target combo that is linked to your medium auto, and you can either, and I wouldn't do this unless it's going to kill, you can extend into a long combo by spending a lot of meter. Oop. Or more likely, you'll just get the knockdown with the medium Dima that is also on your simple input with back special. Oop. Keep not doing it fast enough. And Marisa gets great Oki off of that as well. If you want to learn about Marisa's Oki, I strongly recommend Zach Henke's videos on the subject. He's already covered that better than I could. So that's your no motion inputs combos. If you are comfortable doing motion inputs and you can do a quarter circle back heavy, then since you are +8, you can go directly into one of these. The link is a little bit tight and I still drop it sometimes, but that is a great meterless way to extend your combo and usually going to be superior to the other version. Like so. So catching their approach with this, potentially catching that low with this, is a really strong option in neutral. And you can just throw this out in neutral, as long as you're not like in their face going, and making it really obvious that you're missing and they can just hit you. If you're intentionally throwing this out with the drive rush cancel buffered behind it, and you have the meter that if you spend the 3 bars, you're not in a bad situation, then this is a great place to be. So, stand medium kick, crouch medium punch. What else do we have here? I'm going to cover another medium before I move on to heavies, and that is going to be your stand medium punch. Your medium auto combo is this. You're basically never going to want to do that. By and large, you're only ever going to want to do the first 2 hits of the medium auto combo, because that is your only access to the medium punch target combo. Stand medium will get you stand medium kick on modern. You have to be holding audio to get this. And interestingly, the target combo hit confirms for you. So I'm just mashing here. As you can see, you don't get both hits unless it connects with them on hit or on block. So this is really safe to just throw out. It's fairly fast in recovery. It's very difficult to whiff punish because they'd have to be really close to you, and it can check a lot of things. If you're trying to play the spacing of, are you close enough to hit me, are you not close enough to hit me, and you walk back a little and they just barely miss, you can catch a lot of buttons with this, and it'll then auto continue into your target combo, and you can get whatever combo extension you want off of that with this. The other really useful purpose for this is that it is a good drive rush check, but I'm going to get into drive rush checks later in the video. So for now, just know this is a safe option to throw out to catch them throwing buttons. You do not want to overuse it. You don't want to be just walking up to them and potentially throwing this on block, because on block, even if you end in Gladius, which leaves you pretty safe, there's a gap between the target combo and the Gladius, and in that gap they can super, they can ODDP, they can catch you low potentially if you're charging the Gladius and give them time. That's a mix in and of itself in terms of, will you charge the Gladius, which version of Gladius will it be OD, what kind of DP do they have, but that's its own video. The bottom line being, this is always a risky pressure option on block because of the gap. There's nothing you can do to prevent there being a gap there if you go for the meterless pressure option. So you don't want to be constantly using this in neutral and as a pressure tool, or you're constantly creating a situation where if they guess correctly, you suffer because you're constantly giving them an opportunity to guess in that gap in a way that can turn the tide and allow them to start pressuring you. So when I say use this in neutral, I largely mean catch the edge of them hitting a button with this. Not walk up in their face and just throw this. Because it's unsafe at -8 if you don't cancel it, and if you do cancel it, there's going to be a gap. Nor do you want to constantly drive rush cancel it, because that's expensive, and once again gives them an opportunity to do something in the gap, because that is just a fundamentally risky situation. I could go off in detail about the mix-up inherent in the medium punch target combo. Zach has already covered it better. Watch Zach's video about the medium punch target combo. For neutral, use this to catch buttons, use this to check drive rush. You don't just want to walk up close enough to hit them with this, because it's not a great pressure option, and also then you have to get really close to them and they'll probably catch you before you actually get close enough to throw that button. So I think that's it for mediums, because we've covered crouch medium, stand medium, and auto medium. What I'm going to get into next is Marisa's stand heavy punch. This is one of your absolute best tools in neutral as modern Marisa. You have to use this button significantly more than you would on classic, because you don't have that pinwheel kick, that stand heavy kick. This is your farthest reaching normal in many ways. Oh, wait, I did skip a medium. I skipped this. I'll go back to this, because now I'm already talking about stand heavy punch. This is your furthest reaching normal. This goes even further than your forward heavy kick. This misses from here, or this misses from here. This would connect from here. Furthest reaching normal. Now, what do you get off of this? For one thing, if you, as I said before, you're walking back and forth, you walk in, so they think they can hit you, then you walk out a little bit, they threw a crouching medium kick, they missed. If you then throw this and get punish counter, you are +7, which means on punish counter, this is a combo. Because you can go into your medium punch target combo. So this is a very powerful whiff punishing tool, because it goes very far and it gets really, really good combos on hit. If you get a counter hit as opposed to a punish counter, not a whiff punish, but you threw this, they started throwing a button as they were going to get hit, you hit them out of their button startup. On counter hit, you are +5, which means the only thing you can convert into is this, but you could still get a knockdown. That does require you to be able to do a manual quarter circle back light, so that knockdown is not going to be accessible to you if you cannot do any motion inputs. But then I would just advise you to either just do the jabs to create some space, or do the jabs into Gladius, which will not get you a knockdown. It does give them a chance to block if they know that's not a true string, but it's a decent backup option if you can't do motion inputs, and it's what I was doing in that situation until after I hit master. So the non-motion input version can still take you pretty far.
What are you waiting?
On block with stand heavy punch, if you're just throwing this out in the neutral as a poke and they block it, what happens? You are -3. This button is not plus on block. At -3, you are safe. You have time to block before they can hit a button, because the fastest buttons in this game are 4 frames. But it is the end of your turn. You can't just continue to do anything else there. Sometimes you might want to go for the stand heavy punch target combo, which is this. There is a gap in that target combo. So if they know there is a gap, they can hit you out of it. But you want to kind of knowledge check that. You want to see, does this person know they can hit me out of it? If they don't know they can hit you out of it, maybe they're throwing a bigger button, like a crouch medium kick at the gap, then they're going to get counter hit, and you're going to get a knockdown. So you want to see, can I abuse them trying to press a button they shouldn't there, or do they know that they can interrupt the target combo? Now, if they do know, and you've conditioned them that you like to do the target combo instead of just one stand heavy punch, you can catch them by going for perfect parry after one of these, Oop. Or you can catch them if you really want to risk it.
Where are you going? Sweet dreams.
You don't want to do target combo all the time, especially because on block it pushes them back pretty far, and that's not necessarily to your advantage since they can start walking out of your effective range. But it is a decent mix to have to see if they know they can mash in the gap, or if they are mashing the wrong button in the gap. It does a decent amount of drive meter damage. That's a whole bar. As opposed to half a bar, then that's a whole bar. So if they're just sitting there blocking it, it might be worth it to bully their drive meter. If they're hitting buttons, then it depends on if they're hitting a button that gets counter hit or if they're hitting a button that counter hits you. And then I just showed what your options are if they know to interrupt with a jab. Okay, that was the other medium button I was going to cover, is this, your forward medium punch. This is the same situation on block as this, in that it is -3. It does have a target combo, but the target combo is -12 on block. It's not something you want to risk at all. I basically never use that target combo. The only time you want to use that target combo is if the forward medium kick or forward medium punch does hit, but it's not a counter hit. In which case, your only knockdown option, since you're only +2, is target combo. But that's something you only want to do on a hit, and only if it's a normal hit, not counter hit, not punish counter. On counter hit or punish counter, you're +4. So you can convert into jabs, just like you would off of this on counter hit, and that means you can get a knockdown. Again, if you can't do the motion input, maybe just... But really, if you can't do the motion input and you want a knockdown, then you probably do want to use the target combo there. This button is good because it is safe on block, as I said, and since it's only -3, you can do the same thing there with, if they like to press after this, maybe you catch them with this, maybe you go for perfect parry. But even just by itself, it's a decent move on block because it moves you forward, it pushes them back, and it pressures them to do something because, again, you're just slowly taking more space and chipping at their drive gauge. It doesn't have as much range as this does. You gotta be quite a bit closer for this to hit. This whiffs back here. And it's something I should probably stand to use more, but it's the most useful if they're just kind of hovering and not doing anything. Because this says, if you don't hit any buttons, then I will. And as long as you don't miss, it's a safe button to throw out in neutral. So for neutral so far, we've covered this as a check of them coming into your space. This as a check of them coming into your space. This as a potential way of you to walk into their space, or maybe check them throwing out a button. And then if you get a counter hit, you get a knockdown. This being a main pressure tool for you moving up into their space, but also that if they miss a button in your face, you can get big combos off of punish counter with this, just like you can get big combos off of buffering drive rush, combos on hit with this. What else do we have here? Crouching heavy kick is kind of an interesting situation. This is Marisa's sweep. It is slower than most sweeps in the game, and it is -11 on block. However, there's also a charged version, unlike other sweeps in the game. And the charged version of Marisa's sweep is safe on block at -3. -3, same as this, same as this. And the advantage of that being safe on block when you charge it comes from the fact that it also has proximity guard. And proximity guard means that if your opponent is just walking away from you, it will catch them and force them to stop being able to continue walking away from you. It catches them in place if you start charging it while they are walking back, and forces them to stay where they are. They can still block, but they can't just continue to walk away from you. Now let me show what that looks like in practice. Oop, wrong recording. Also wrong recording. Oh my god, which one of these is the walking back?
Let's get it.
Did I accidentally delete my walking back recording? Alright, I'm just gonna re-record walking back real quick. There we go. Alright. If they are still in range of this, and they are walking back, it forces the walk back to stop. You see, he's holding back. He would just continue to walk back, but as long as you're still in range, he has to stop where he is. Now, he can, as I said, still block. Because I have the recording going, he's not going to be able to, like, interrupt the recording and block. He could still block, but you are safe on block at -3 with the charged version of sweep. So, it's not something you want to do all the time, since, as I just said, it is slow. Your charged sweep is a 23 frame startup, and it was already slow uncharged at 12. 23 frame startup. So, they can just try to counter hit you with something if they're still in range, or they can react by blocking, or, you know, if they're really big-brained, perfect parrying, or doing something invincible, potentially. So you don't want to just be throwing this out willy-nilly. And if you start charging it when he's already out of range, then he can continue to walk back. So against characters with faster walk speed, it's a little bit harder, because by the time you go, I'm going to catch his walk back, he's already out of range. The main reason this is an important tool on Modern Marisa is because, as I mentioned before, you do not have crouch medium kick, which is a good way to catch people walking away from Marisa at close range. And you do not have stand heavy kick, which is Marisa's best way to catch people walking away from her at further range. It has more range than this, and it also has proximity guard, and it is also by and large safe on block. So it's just a better option. It's a really unfortunate loss on Modern Marisa that we do not have stand heavy kick. I would be thrilled to death if they changed that at some point, but for now, for catching walk back, this is going to be one of your absolute best options. And that leaves us with what I would argue is Marisa's most important heavy, and that is going to be forward heavy kick. This is the almighty forward heavy kick into light Gladius. This is a true block string. There's no gap. Here, gap. Here, no gap. If he's set to hit a button on block, you see he's hitting it in the gap there. But here, no gap. Now why is this so good? Why this is so good is that on block, you're pushing him back, but you are also taking an entire bar of his drive meter. So this demands a response. He can't just let you do this over and over again, or his drive meter is gone. Burnout. He can't just let you continue to do that over and over again. So eventually, he's going to want to do something about it. He's going to have to start pressing buttons and being more active. He cannot just sit there and block forever. And the additional advantage of this is that forward heavy kick into light Gladius, which, as you can see, is also the one button Gladius on Modern, which is awesome, is that it spaces you out to such a degree that many buttons people will commonly throw out to check after a block string will whiff. Look at the crouching medium kick. Misses. That's significant, because that means if he tries to press that crouching medium kick after you pushed him out of range, So you can catch people mid-screen, corner, what have you. If they really like to press buttons and they don't know to go for a heavier button, like for instance, if he were to go for sweep there, that's still going to connect. But make them prove to you first that they know not to hit smaller buttons. And then if you know they're going to hit a heavier button, now you block that, you're plus 10. What do we have that can punish at that distance within 10 frames? Let me think. That's 10 frames. So, if I did that faster, that should be a better combo. If you're a little further, you might just want to go for the target combo so it doesn't whiff. Oop. And you see punish counter there, he didn't have the time to recover because he's now negative on your block. Or you can always be cheeky and go for the perfect parry. Make them prove to you first that they know this is a spacing trap. Because if they try to hit mediums, if they try to hit lights, they're gonna miss, and you can whiff punish them with this, maybe with this. I think this was probably also an option for the block sweep. Let me just test that real quick. Pushes you too far. Yeah, pushes you too far. That is a good whiff punish button in other situations. So, in the aforementioned Gladius main focus of Marisa's neutral, where you are first making them respect this, which, by the way, is even scarier on Modern, because it's one button, and because you can walk forward into doing it without having to stop to input the quarter circle forward. This is me walking forward into Modern Gladius, basically no gap. This is me walking forward into classic Gladius. Oop. You risk getting accidental Phalanx, and also... Oop. To avoid getting the Phalanx, you have to stop walking forward before you can throw the Gladius. And you can just walk forward into raw Gladius on Modern. So that's scary. You've now been abusing them with that scary-ass Modern Gladius. And we said there are two things they can do. They can start trying to walk forward into lows, or they can start trying to walk back. Now, they start walking back, you're walking after them, and you're hitting them with this, and you're hitting them with this. And you're creating a scary situation for them on block, where eventually they have to do something, and it's a spacing trap. So if they pick the wrong thing, they're in trouble. The other heavy button that I haven't mentioned yet is the back heavy punch. Well, not haven't mentioned, but haven't mentioned in and of itself is back heavy punch, which you can also charge. This isn't really something you're just throwing out in neutral, which is why I hadn't mentioned it until now. It is a very good tool once you get in for bullying on block, because much like this, which is a whole bar, look at this. That's more than a bar and a half, and the time between this and this is tight enough that it'll catch them pressing buttons in the gap, and they'll get hit if they stop blocking, and if they keep blocking. So this is really Marisa's game plan, and how her neutral ends up playing out, is that stage 1 is fear the armor, I will hit you. You won't let me hit you? Say goodbye to your drive meter. I hope you enjoyed not being in burnout, because that's over now. Have fun being ashy and getting sent to the corner. Forward heavy kick into Gladius is just the best. It's the best. And on block, as I said, this is a true strength, but if you charge it, then it's not. And if they are trying to check your approach with something that's not a low, like the crushing light punch, then charging it can get you a knockdown. And you don't have to charge it all the way. That was fully charged. That's partial charge. If you charge it just a little bit, you give them a chance to hit the wrong button and get punished for it, without charging it so long that you give them a lot of time to react in the bigger gap. So sometimes you want to charge it too. This is Editing Shep from the future, and I wanted to mention one more thing about the power of this button on block. On block, oh my goodness. Alongside being able to bully with this true string that absolutely decimates drive gauge, there is a lot of power in drive rush canceling this button on block. And that is because, with the frame data being the way it is, you always get a true 50-50 between either another knee or a command grab. And both of those options beat mashing. So I'm just going to turn on Ken mashing on block here with his fastest button. So you see the knee beats buttons, but so does the command grab.
Where are you going?
And if you have hit them with the command grab there, and now they're scared and they say want to jump out of it, the knee will catch the jump. Versus if they're trying to parry because they think you're going for the knee, punish, counter, grab. So it's a very powerful strike throw mix inherently built into that. If you think they're just going to continue to block, another strong option is to drive rush cancel the knee into the crouching medium punch. Because, as discussed, where I otherwise mentioned the crouching medium punch, you're +2 there, you get a true strike throw mix, and if they actually did get hit, then you would get a combo. Although I think that might be a true block string. I'm going to check and turn on his mashing again real quick. Yep, true block string. So if you actually wanted to hit him, you would have to delay the medium punch, which is obviously a little bit difficult to do. But if you have the drive meter as you're setting up your pressure to be able to spend 3 bars on a drive rush cancel from Marisa, this is going to be basically the equivalent of your bread and butter crouching medium kick drive rush cancel. This is a really good drive rush cancel for Marisa. That 50-50 is incredibly strong, and with it being a heavy, this is another thing that's interesting. If you do the drive rush cancel into nothing, it can bait reversals because you have time to block. Works on supers as well. Let's go with his fastest super here. So that's another thing worth being aware of as you're pressuring with the knee, is you don't only have to do this. You can intensify your pressure and mix up your offense with the 50-50 off of this, and the ability to also potentially have a hard read that they're going to go for a reversal. At higher levels, people will likely begin drive reversaling after the knee drive rush cancel. Where is drive reversal? Oh, right, it's not in dummy settings. There we go. Drive reversal on block. There's no time to block there. That does work. The only thing that could beat that is if you go for a super immediately after you see the drive reversal. So you got options on options. I've gone into kind of an unnecessary degree of detail here. But the TLDR is that on block, this will always give you a true 50-50 between knee or command grab. You can also set up a powerful situation with the block string like this. You can bait reversals by doing it into nothing. And if they try to go for drive reversal, then be ready with your finger on the super. You're on modern. It makes punishing that option a lot easier. All right, back to the main part of the video. All right, so what have we covered so far? Marisa neutral, Gladius. Fear the Gladius. I will eat your moves. I will damage your health. I will push you away from me. What are you going to do about it? You want to walk towards me? I am going to buffer drive rush behind this. I am going to throw out this, and if I catch you starting to press a button, I'm going to convert into a combo. If you are throwing out a crouching medium kick and I get it to whiff, I can whiff punish it with this. You keep coming towards me, I'm going to check your approach with this. You want to walk away from me? Oh, you're making a mistake. I can catch your walk back with this, which is safe on block if I charge it. I can follow you and harass you with this. If I want to, I can extend this into the target combo. If you hit a big button in the gap, you get hit and knocked down. If you hit a small button in the gap, I can trick you and go for perfect parry or potentially for Scutum. Just like I can off of this on block, and just like I can if I know you're going to go for a heavy button after this. Block into perfect parry, into Scutum, whatever. I'm going to chase you down if you start walking back. I'm going to harass you with this. I'm going to harass you with this. I'm going to harass you with this. I know there are also uses for charging this, because unlike the uncharged version, it is +4. And on hit, it is plus enough. It's +7, so on hit, you can... But this is so reactable. It's a 26 frame charge. So I am personally not comfortable using it in neutral right now. I'm sure there are people who do, but it is a big risk because they still have a lot of time to walk back. It does not have proximity guard to stop their walk back. And they have a lot of time if they're not going to walk back to either do something invincible or more likely perfect parry it because they see it coming. So not necessarily your best option. As you're walking forward, you're going to want to do maybe this, but by and large, the core of my walk forward pressure is this, and this. I should have also mentioned, raw hit on this, you're only +3. You can't convert into any other buttons. So if this does hit raw, and it's not counter hit or punish counter, then you really should do the target combo to get your knockdown, because otherwise they're still standing up, and you can't really do much else. This is all just throwing buttons out. What about when you introduce Drive Rush? I've only discussed Drive Rush as a buffer off of this. When else do you want to use Drive Rush? Well, if you're Drive Rushing into something, sometimes you can catch them overcommitting with Drive Rush into a light, which is very fast. On block, you're +1, so you don't get a true strike throw mix. But you can at least know that you're safe and you're technically plus. But on hit, you can go into the medium punch target combo off of Drive Rush. Oh my god. There it is. So that can be worth doing as a jump scare or to catch them trying to pressure you with bigger buttons that they'll get hit out of. Most of the time, if I'm drive rushing in with Marisa in neutral and forcing them to react, I am drive rushing into this. On hit, you are +7, just like off of punish counter. So you can go into medium punch. On block, on block, +1. So it's not a true strike throw mix. If you throw and he mashes, the mash will beat your throw. But you want him to prove first that he knows to mash. If he then shows you he'll mash, keep it tight. If you can't do the quarter circle back, better than nothing. If he tries to mash a bigger button there, you can even counter hit with the medium punch target combo. But you want to at least try this throw off of only +1 in the beginning, even though he can mash out of it. Because once you've established that throw and the fear of that throw, then they're going to start potentially throw teching, especially at low level. And once you know he is throw teching or delay throw teching to potentially also beat you going for jab, then because you were +1, you can shimmy and you end up with this. Walk back. Oh no, you thought I was going to throw you? Nope, you're going to die. You were so scared of the throw, you were so scared of eating 10%, that now you're going to eat almost 60%. And that is the value of causing them to whiff the throw. Just like causing them to whiff a crouch medium kick. The punish is massive. Or worse, they try to do something invincible. So if you're going to drive rush into a button, this is a very solid option, because it forces them to have to deal with the fact that now you are plus instead of being -3 and make a decision. Do they not want to guess and they do something invincible? Do they guess throw with throw tech? Do they guess strike and maybe go for parry and then get thrown? It's a very good situation to be in. Sometimes you can also catch them trying to check your drive rush with a short button, like a jab, by actually drive rushing into the charged version of the heavy punch. This is where the charged version is actually pretty useful, because then you're +8 on block there, which means this is a true block string, no gap. That's terrifying. Look how much drive meter damage that does. That's almost 2 bars. They cannot afford to let you do that. They're going to have to start pressing something. And if you actually hit them with that, because they try to check, for instance, your drive rush with a jab, and the charged punch stopped you short, you're +11, which means you can go into your... Wait, no, that's 14. You can go into your back heavy punch. As long as you can do a manual quarter circle back, a drop tip, but you get the idea. You can go into quarter circle back heavy off of the back heavy punch. If you can't do motion inputs and you land this, just go for your medium punch target combo again. It's not as good because you're going to spend meter, but it's a big combo. Your full cash out there would look like this. Oops. So even with no motion inputs, if you're willing to spend the meter, that's almost 60%. So off of drive rush, by and large, this, maybe this. Marisa's other relevant light, besides the crouching light punch, is gonna be this. And yeah, you could drive rush into that, and it leaves you +2, unlike only +1 with this. This is +2. So that is a true strike throw mix, where if he hits a button, instead of hitting you out of it, if you do it fast enough, you'll beat the button. So that can also be useful. I don't do it as often. Maybe I should do it more. It's worth keeping in mind. But if you're going to throw in drive rush as a neutral option, maybe even sometimes this. Because on block, you're also +2. True strike throw mix, just like that. And on hit, because it's off of Drive Rush, you get the same combos that I talked about earlier off the buffered crouch medium punch Drive Rush cancel. This is Editing Shep from the future. I wanted to also include one additional recommendation off of Drive Rush if you were going to Drive Rush in, and that is going to be Drive Rush into the crouch and medium punch. On hit, even without counter hit, as you can see there, you are +7, so you can convert into the medium punch target combo. That was not an actual combo wrap. I don't know what I was thinking. My point stands. That's a good conversion. And on block, you're actually +2, unlike the +1 off of this. So as long as you had the range necessary to go for this, as opposed to going for this, you get a true strike throw mix off of that. They can try to walk back out of the throw. We've discussed how to catch walk back, but you can also do this off of that and have it beat buttons, or catch the mashing with a light. And that light on hit would convert into light Dima. I also neglected to mention Marisa's crouch light kick, which you only have off the light auto combo, but that's actually a great combo. It's another method of catching walk back, potentially after something like this at close range. If I have him set to walk back on block, as you can see, he would be walking back there, and it catches the walk back into a combo. Same goes here. Actually, not same goes there. It doesn't quite have the range, which is, again, another reason why you would want to go for this instead of this. They both have different advantages. This is also special cancelable, unlike this, which is not, which means that this is unsafe to drive impact, and this is safe to drive impact. So it's another option worth keeping in mind, especially if you have continually demonstrated this. They might try to go for a random drive impact or a wake-up drive impact, and you can then punish that by canceling that into a counter drive impact because the button is cancelable. This is also just useful for checking walk back at short range, and the auto combo in general is a good knockdown, and if you can't do motion inputs, it's your only access to light Dima. So it's worth keeping that in mind as an option. You're not gonna like randomly do this in neutral, but I thought it was worth mentioning. And okay, I think that's all for Editing Shep. I just realized with horror during editing that I didn't include this. So now you know what that does on hit, on block, the inherent mix, how it can deal with drive impact. And back to the meat of the video I already recorded. So those are your options off of Drive Rush. Now, we've talked about offense, we've talked about if they're walking towards you, we've talked about if they're walking away from you. What if they're drive rushing at you? How do you deal with defense in the neutral if they decide to go on offense first? Well, Marisa's best drive rush check is going to be the stand medium punch, because you get big combos off of it. It comes out in only 7 frames. It's a really good check. I'm going to find my Drive Rush recording here. There it is. Oh my god. There it is. If they're a little bit closer than where Ken is now, or if they have a very fast drive rush, like Jury or DJ, then you can also check with crouch lights. As long as you can do a quarter circle back, you can go into your quarter circle back light for the knockdown. Otherwise, just end with the Gladius like I showed before. Won't get you a knockdown, but it's decent.
Let's get it. Go, go. Let's get it.
I have to get closer. There we go. Good against fast drive rushes, good against close range drive rushes. So in the neutral, that's one of the things you're going to be looking for. You're looking, are they walking back? Are they walking towards me? What buttons are they hitting? So you're looking for walk back, walk forward, you're looking for drive rush. What else do you have to look for? Jumps. You always have to look for jumps. There are going to be character-specific things you have to look for as well, like with Ken, he can neutral skip with Dragon Lash, but I'm talking general neutral here. Everybody can jump in at you. So how do you anti-air with Modern Marisa? First of all, you don't. Modern Marisa's anti-airs need a lot of help, but the options you have different uses, and complaining is not going to help you climb rank. Asking for buffs, as much as I think she needs buffs, is not going to help you climb rank. You have to work with what you have. So if you want to play Modern Marisa, this is how you anti-air. Your number one anti-air, especially on Modern, like Gladius, if you charge it, will armor the jump in and get you a knockdown. It can even be canceled into level 3. So where's my jump in recording? There we go. You want to start charging it, release the charge when they hit you, and then you'll knock them out of the air with Gladius. This seems great. It has notable weaknesses. If they jump on you without hitting a button, and you were just waiting for the armor to tick, and you don't recognize they haven't hit a button and release early, they can land in front of you and just throw you. I've had people empty jump on me while I was charging this, and just throw a raw level 3 super in my face to take 50% of my health and win the round. Maybe even win the game, or the set. This cannot be your only anti-air. My worst habit as a Marisa player is how much I like to use this as an anti-air, because it cannot be your only option. So what are your other options? Crouch Heavy Punch. It's 9 frames. If you were to charge it, it's 21 frames. The hitbox isn't great. It can be hard to anti-air with. Sometimes you think you're in the range to use it, and they just go behind you. If you're getting crossed up, and they're going behind you, that's where you want to jump back into a light, which is going to be your light kick. You don't get a knockdown, but it prevents them going over your head and crossing you up. So if they're hitting buttons on jump in, this. If you don't have time to do that, or they start abusing it with empty jumps, or the range is wrong, like if they're trying to jump out of the corner, this. If they're trying to cross you up, this. And then you have one other option, and that is the air-to-air medium punch target combo, which just like the one on the ground, the second hit only comes out on hit. That can also beat cross up if you're preemptive enough. This is an especially great option for keeping people in the corner when they're trying to jump out. It beats a lot of options for air approaches, and it prevents them knowing that you will only Gladius as an anti-air. I honestly think as long as you have the reaction time, this is significantly more reliable than this. This button needs a lot of help. It is a button I need to use more, because it has its uses, but it needs a lot of help. The core of your anti-air game with Modern Marisa, in my opinion, is going to be establish this. If they do know how to deal with it and they show you, remember you have this, and make sure you beat cross-ups with this, because cross-ups will also severely cook the Gladius anti-air. They'll just hit you out of it completely. It's brutal. Okay. So I think that is the gist of my notes on how to play neutral with Modern Marisa. To summarize, Gladius. What are they going to do about it? They're walking towards me and hitting buttons. I'm going to buffer this to catch them approaching. I'm going to walk back a little so they miss and hit them with this. Or hit them with this. Or punish the whiff with this. I'm going to catch them approaching me with this. They want to walk away from me. If they are still in range, I can charge this with proximity guard, catch the walk back, potentially score a knockdown, and be safe on block. I'm going to walk up and pressure with this. It's a knockdown if it hits, it's a ton of drive meter damage if it's blocked, it creates a spacing trap. I'm going to walk forward with this. This is my farthest range normal. It is safe on block. On hit, I can get this. On counter hit, I can get this. On punish counter, I can get this. I can also use this as I'm approaching. I can maybe use this as I'm approaching. I can use this as I'm approaching. By and large, your strongest options. Okay, I've had enough of playing the slow game. I'm going to drive rush in. Fast, safe, on hit converts. This, on hit converts. Unblock your +1, establish the fake throw, make them scared, make them tack, shimmy. They like to mash, this. They like to mash a big button, this. Establish the throw, never forget to treat the throw as a real threat, even though technically they can mash out of it.
Time to play.
If you drive rush into this, you don't really get anything off of it on hit unless you go for the target combo, which I didn't even really discuss. There's a gap in that target combo that they can mash. It only combos on counter hit or off of drive rush. I'm going to leave that out of my general guide for you and just tell you not to use it too much as you're learning neutral with Modern Marisa. It has its uses, but by and large, I will say, if you do get the combo on counter hit, then you can drive rush cancel into this and do appropriate combo extensions there. But if they're just blocking, there's a mashable gap. Oh, wait, no, not mashable, sorry. There's a reversible gap. If they mash, they get hit, but they can just reversal you in the gap. So really, if you're doing this, it's just to establish the +2 strike throw mix. You're probably better off doing this, or doing this. Then, if they want to drive rush at you, check with this. At closer range or against faster drive rush, check with this. They want to jump at you, anti-air. Oh no, they're crossing me up when I do that. Do this, or do this. Oh no, I'm at a range where this doesn't work, or they've started empty jumping on me instead. Go for this. Oh, I'm at a range where this doesn't work, they're empty jumping this. I don't know what to do. This. This all day long. That is the core of how I have learned to approach neutral with Modern Marisa. I still have a lot to learn, by all means. I also didn't really go into detail with Phalanx as an option, because Gladius as the core is more essential, but just remember that's also something you have in your toolkit. And really, that's about it. You don't have Quadriga as a neutral skip. You don't have stand light kick as a poke. You don't have crouching medium kick to check walk back. You don't have stand heavy kick to check walk back, spacing trap, and get wombo combos all in one. But you are still very functional. You have the jump scare of walk forward armor. You have the power of walk forward Gladius. You have the power of instant anti-air like Gladius. You have reaction supers that are so much stronger, in my opinion, on Classic than they are on Modern. They should still be scared of you. Modern Marisa is still very much a threat in this game. Even though I genuinely think she's bottom 5 this season, even though she has advantages on Classic that you lose access to, this character is 100% viable. She's 100% viable. She might not be the most competitive high-level tournament pick right now, which is why a lot of people have dropped her, but she's still a ton of fun, and she can still be very competitive at many levels. There are so many reasons why I love this character. I made a separate video on just that, which you should go watch. But bottom line being, you can do this. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't play Marisa on Modern and still have a solid game plan, because now you have it. You've gotten the walkthrough. I believe in you. Begin with Gladius, work from there. You've got this. And if you have any additional questions or things that I forgot to mention that you think are valuable, maybe things you've learned playing neutral with Modern Marisa, things you find frustrating, things you hope get buffed or changed in some way, I want to hear it all in the comments. Hit me. Thank you so much for showing up. And just to close out, I am going to do my favorite weird setup for max damage if you only have level 1 in the corner, because I can. Except that he's blocking. Nearly 50%, baby. You just got Marisa. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the new mic. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Take care of yourselves. Like, subscribe, all those things that help support the channel as I approach hopefully being able to monetize it. And when in doubt, Gladius. Thank you.